Now next we'll move into important current affairs, that is section 123 of RPA. It is very important. Since a single question has not been asked from this particular section, you can expect this particular question in this means. Okay? Now, you have the RPA 1951, a section known as section 123. Now what this section deals with is, it categorizes certain practices as corrupt practices. Now corrupt practices in the sense that if the candidate is involving in any kind of bribery, or if he is using any undue influences to directly or indirectly interfere with the election, and also another cases here, that is section 123(3) of RPA. Now this particular section is very important. Now I'll read it. The appeal by a candidate or his agent or by any other person with the consent of the candidate or his agent, the appeal is to vote or refrain from voting for any person. That is, a candidate, his agent or any other person with the consent of the candidate makes an appeal that to the voters that to vote or refrain from voting for any person on the ground of his religion, race, caste, community or language. Now this is a particular section that is given in the RPA Act of 1951. Now this is a section, this is explicitly given in the section. Now what is the current affairs related to this particular topic is, now please do read this, okay? If you haven't read, please do read this, because it is based upon this that the next judgment comes in. Okay? Can I change? So this is the section that has been given. Now what happened is that in Abhiram Singh case, in 2017, in this particular case, what happened is that a question came in front of a 7-judge bench. So 7-judge bench was involved, and a question came in before this particular bench that whether this particular his refers to just the candidate, his agent or a person with the consent of the candidate, or does it include to the electors, that is the people who are eligible to vote. So that was a question whether in front of Supreme Court that what is actually the meaning of this particular his in the section. This his. What is this his? Does it include only the candidate or does it include even the elector, the person who is going to vote? So that was a question. The main question that was put forth. Again, a subsidiary question was also being asked whether a religious leader's appeal to his followers that you need to vote for a particular party is also an electoral malpractice. But the main question was this particular question, what is the meaning of this particular his in this section? So that was the case. Now what the judgment made is that, so the case is Abhiram case, okay? So the judgment, what they said is that it was majority, because I said that 7-judge bench was it, but it was divided actually because of 4 that the majority supported this particular judgment, but there was dissenting judges also. So when you say that the majority judgment was that his religion mainly includes the candidate, his agent, any other person on behalf or with the consent of the candidate or the elector. So what it effectively means is that now a candidate cannot ask or appeal for vote in the basis of the religion, caste, community or even the language of the voters also. That is, you can't claim even you can't appeal in the terms of your religion as well as the voters' religion. That is the verdict. Am I clear? So, please you read it. This is a verdict actually. That is, the Supreme Court held that an appeal for votes during the election on the basis of religion, caste, race, community or language, even that of the elector or the electorate, will amount to the corrupt praxis and practice, and that will call for the disqualification of that particular candidate. So it can lead to the disqualification. So this was the verdict. So now a candidate cannot appeal on the basis of the religion, caste, language, community of the voters also. So that is what was emphasized in this particular verdict. Now I have already said that it was 4:3 judgment. So now we look into what the judges, supporting judges said, as well as the opposing judges also said. So the first we look into the majority view. Now the majority, what the judges said is that governance as a process is secular, has to be secular. So you need not bring in religion in this particular process. So they also said that election is a secular practice. Just like the functioning of the people who are elected is secular, has to be secular, so the election is also a secular exercise. So that was the first thing that was put forward by the judgment. Second thing is that they said that the law, that is basically the Representation of People's Act as a law, its intention is to bring in purity in the election. So keeping away the appeal for the religion, caste, community means you are reinstating the purity of the election process. So that is what they said as a second thing. Third thing is that the basic purpose of the section, they said is that I already said that 123 categorizes certain practices as corrupt practices. So it was mainly to curb any kind of divisive factors like communal, fissiparous or separatist tendencies. So the intention of the act or that particular section itself is to curb the communal as well as other divisive factors. So keeping this, appealing in the terms of the voters also, that can lead to that will be against the public interest. If you are calling for the appeal in based on certain section and that is affecting the other section. And then again, another thing is also mentioned that the election that was fought that was decided based on these issues like the religion, community, caste and all, that is actually affecting the democracy itself. Because the divisive factors like that of the religion, community and all, that is affecting the unity of the democracy itself. That's the first thing. Second thing what they said is that actually if a democracy has to function in a proper manner, the voters we should actually vote in a rational manner. So bringing in these kind of religious as well as this communal factors means it is bringing in emotional or irrational factors. So they said that an election that was fought and decided on these issues was a distortion to the democracy as such. And then it also said that the relationship between a god as well as a person is a private thing. Now don't bring it in the public sphere. This was what was said in the judgment by the majority judges. That is, election is a secular practice, the law's intention is to reinstate the purity, and then the basic purpose of the section is to curb the communal as well as divisive factors, and then an election that was fought on this will affect the democracy, and also what the relation between the god as well as a person is a private thing. So what is a minority or the dissenting views? What the other three judges mainly mentioned was that the constitution itself recognized these aspects, that is the religion, the community, the caste, etc. as a part of the social life of the nation itself. So they said that these were considered or were being recognized as a central theme by the constitution itself. That's the first thing. Second thing, they also said that these factors were seen as a symbols of the social discrimination that was imposed on the larger vulnerable sections of the society. The dissenting judges again said that this social mobilization based on these factors, that is the religion, the caste, the language, etc., were a powerful means in the past and in the present also. They have turned out to be the powerful instruments to bring in the socially discriminated or the vulnerable sections to the mainstream. So that is the third point that was put forward by the dissenting judges. And then the judges also said that such a restriction can prevent the raising of any legitimate concerns of the vulnerable sections, and this in turn will affect the democracy. So these were the main views that was put forward by the dissenting judges. That is, the constitution recognized the position of these factors, and then religion, caste, languages were the symbols of the social discrimination that was imposed on the larger sections of the society, and social mobilization was a powerful instrument, and to hold that a person who seeks to contest an election to be prohibited from speaking the legitimate concerns was seen as reducing the democratic principle itself. Also, along with these views, the judges also noted that it was due to these factors that certain parties like the All India Scheduled Caste Federation, that is a political party that is mainly revolving around the Dalit emancipation, such parties came in. So these were the main views that were put forward by the dissenting judges. Now, we look into what actually the implication of this particular judgment is going to bring. The first thing is that now you cannot appeal on the basis of religion, caste, community, language, etc. So now what is being appealed? It is that we will bring this particular development, we will look into that aspect. So the election manifesto altogether changes, and the main agenda will be socio-economic development. And the people or the voters, how they elect a particular member, that is based on the merit or the development or the contribution that the member has done, and not based on the religion or the caste considerations. So actually, when the main agenda of this becomes a socio-economic development, that in turn improves the governance of the country. So that is the advantages. Then the next thing is that you have we all know that our vote bank, etc. is being considered as a vote bank politics. That is, this particular section votes for this particular person, this particular section. So this appeal totally being changed from, or totally being wiped from the candidate's appeal, means that will lead to the cleansing of the election and also the politics. So that is the second or the third advantage. Then you have now election commission, since the Supreme Court verdict is there, it becomes more powerful to disqualify certain people who are appealing on the terms of the religion, caste, community. Okay? So that is the next thing. And also it reaffirms a secularism. That is, we are not identifying any particular religion, and it reaffirms secularism, which is again the basic structure of the constitution. Am I clear? So when you look into the advantages, you can say that the main agenda will become the socio-economic development, and that will improve the governance of the country, and also the election commission will get more, or it will get more power, and it will be strengthened, and that along with this particular judgment can cleanse the politics as well as the election, and also it reaffirms the secularism, which is the basic structure of the constitution. Am I clear? This is the positive implications. Now there are negative concerns also being raised. What are the negative implications? The first thing is that, I've already said, it prevents from raising the legitimate concerns of the state. We all know that B.R. Ambedkar, he raised the particular, the exploitations that was faced by the Dalit, and that is the reason why a political party, All India Scheduled Caste Federation, came in. So that and all came because of the legitimate concerns were being raised, and now they are empowered, or they are getting empowered. So what happens with this particular, you cannot appeal on the basis of religion, caste and community, means that prevents the raising of the genuine concerns. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that it restricts or violates the right to speech, which is a fundamental right. So that is going, because you are restricting, you can't appeal in this particular basis, means it is restricting your basic right or the fundamental right. So that's the second criticism. Third thing is more uncertainties. A fine example is, you have certain parties or political parties like Akali Dal, you have this BSP, and then you have the linguistic or the regional parties like that, Telugu Desam Party, you have DMK. These and all are basically, they are revolving around a central core of language or religion. So this particular judgment will bring into uncertainties regarding the parties. Now what will their future be, or whether they will be get disqualified, such kind of confusions will be there. So then again, you have raising the questions regarding the efficacy of the implementation, as in whether a single word of religion can bring in the disqualification, or a repeated use, or the context will be considered. Such kind of uncertainties are still there. So that is the next negative. And then again, it has also been viewed as a case of judicial overreach, that is the judiciary getting involved with the legislation. So the negative implication has also been that it has turned out to be a case of judicial overreach. Now to summarize, you can say that the negative implications are, the first thing is it becomes difficult to raise legitimate concerns. Second thing, it comes in conflict with the right to speech, which is a fundamental right, and then you have more uncertainties regarding the various other parties which have been formed with the core ethos that is based on these factors, that is religion, caste, community, etc. And then implementation efficacy has also been questioned, and also it has been called as a case of judicial overreach. So these are the main negative implications. So is it clear till now? Then finally, if you need to wind up, you can say certain suggestions. What is the suggestion all about? You need to ensure a fine balance happen between the verdict. That is, a verdict means you can't appeal on the basis of caste, religion, community or language of the voters. That is the verdict. And the free speech, that is Article 19 gives you the right to free speech. And again, you need to ensure the betterment of the backward classes whose concern cannot be now raised as per the verdict. So you need to ensure a fine balance happen between these three, that is the verdict, the free speech, as well as ensuring the betterment of the backward classes. Only when the fine balance is ensured that two things can be attained, which is very important for our country. The first thing is secularism as well as the inclusive development. Okay, so you need to ensure a fine balance, then only can the secularism, that is enshrined in the basic structure of the constitution, as well as inclusive development, which is the main agenda of the country right now, can be attained. So this is the main thing with respect to the section 123 of RPA, which is in current affairs and a very important topic. Okay.